is James Lupton for Pro Boxing Fans, and I'm delighted to be joined with Maurizio Sulaiman for the immediate aftermath of Dillian Whyte, Alexander Povetkin. Maurizio, what did you make of the fight, first of all?
Well, first, I would like to express my concern. The first is the Dillian's Whyte health safety. I am sure that the British Boxing Board of Control has taken all precautions and that all the tests that a knockout requires, and I am hopeful that he will be certainly 100% well with his health. It was an unbelievable fight. Maybe underrated in the world scenario, but Povetkin is a very powerful fighter, great experience, and this is boxing, especially in the heavyweight division. You can never count any fighter out at any moment. He was down twice in the fourth round, but he was very technical. He was preparing that shot. We could see it from the first round and the continuous body attack. And he prepared that, faking a liver hook and changing to an uppercut, and it was dramatic. I mean, I have to praise everyone involved because this is the greatest fight, greatest card, I would say, in the pandemic era. To have Katie Taylor and Presume in such a battle and to have such a dramatic heavyweight fight was very good for the sport.
Absolutely. It's easy to forget that Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing, they didn't have to put on this show. They could have waited for the crowds and to earn money from the gate, but they decided to put it on behind closed doors, and the fans who have benefited from that. Now,
absolutely, this is something that, as I said, we have to praise everyone involved: the promoter, the network, the sponsors, the fighters, and it's just an unbelievable event for the sport in the whole world.
Absolutely. Now, it does mean Alexander Povetkin, he is now the interim champion. He holds a diamond belt, and he's also taken the mandatory slot for the winner of Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder trilogy match. Just talk to us
not necessarily. The ruling, as it is clear in the convention, I don't know if you followed, and in the paperwork, we have been absolutely clear that Dillian Whyte was to secure the fight against the winner of Fury Wilder. Now, this changes the scenario, and the WBC will be looking into the heavyweight division in these regards. What the WBC ruled was that if Whyte won, the winner of Wilder Fury third fight would have to fight Dillian Whyte. But now this new scenario, and the WBC will be looking into it.
So just to clarify, was Dillian Whyte not the mandatory going into last night then?
Yes, of course. He was a mandatory, and we had all the provisions. Dillian Whyte is a very specific case. So that was a provision that we made sure that was put out, that was discussed for months and then put out in the convention as it was detailed.
So just to explain and break it down to those who may not understand, why did Dillian have to secure that shot at the winner of Fury Wilder after overcoming Povetkin, if he had done?
James, why do we need to go back? I don't understand the process of this interview. They signed to do a fight. So we allowed that fight. And we conditioned that if he won, he would continue and would not allow any other fight for the winner of Fury Wilder, any other fight than Dillian Whyte, because of the whole process of Dillian Whyte that is well known to everyone.
So going forward with Povetkin in that case, then, where does he stand in this? Obviously, there is a rematch clause by the sounds of things with Dillian Whyte. So where does Povetkin stand in the whole mandatory situation currently?
Povetkin is the WBC interim champion. He just conquered that title, and the WBC just finished the convention. So we're gonna bring back to the WBC and review the whole situation. But as it stands right now, he's the interim champion, and he's a proud, happy man today after an unbelievable victory.
And obviously, it was beforehand February 2021. Am I right in saying that will now no longer be the deadline as such for Povetkin? Am I right? He gets a certain time to.
Yes, that's correct. February is completely off. It was already off because of the times of the pandemic, and it was impossible to have a fight in December and then comply with a February date. But now everything is just set to a new process. They say, I heard that's a rematch. We will see about the rematch. That will take time, and I think it's a very deserving rematch. If in case it takes place, the WBC will absolutely support it, and it just brings a great interest in the heavyweight division worldwide.
Absolutely. So moving on from that, we spoke only a few weeks ago, but it seems like a lot has happened in the boxing world since then. So more recently was Canelo and Yildirim. Now, to those who don't realise, Yildirim was already the #1 contender. He had been for quite a while. So it's not a real surprise that that was sort of matched up between him and Canelo. But I wanted to ask you about the DAZN. But it sounds like DAZN can reject a proposed opponent for Canelo. How do you feel towards that? A broadcaster can do such a thing?
Well, that's their decision. That's something that has absolutely nothing to do with the WBC. That's a network and a promoter's issue, and the fight has been ordered. If there is no agreement, we will have a purse bid, and any promoter can participate in a process. If a network does not want the fight, that's their prerogative.
So does it not affect the fight itself? So from your perspective and WBC stand, that will still be put forward, and like you say, to go for purse bids, and if the zone don't want to show
Well,
that.
it could affect, but there's been precedents of HBO, Showtime not wanting a fight, and that is the purpose of having a system of purse offer. That is a lock, a narrowing to secure that the abuse of power does not exist in the sport. If you have such a powerful network trying to secure something, then there could be abuse of power. But it's their decision. It's also the fighter's decision if they want to fight or not fight. We are in a different world now. Before, there was the love for like in soccer, in football, the love for that shirt that brought nothing could get in the middle. No financial terms could get in the middle of being the best. So I'm just at ease. I'm very happy from the convention. Still tired. It was a complicated time. And now look what happened last night. Look what happened a week ago. The champion didn't make weight. So it's a constant evolving of activity in the boxing world.
You just mentioned there the missing weight. So that's David Benavidez. I wanted to ask you as well about the potential introduction of a new weight class that you was looking into, and why you was looking at between cruiserweight and heavyweight. Why particularly there?
There was a petition from Don Majeski. It's an old one. We have had in the past reviewed this same proposal. And there's a fact that the heavyweight, which begins at 200 pounds, has no limit. And if you see Tyson Fury at 270, Dillian Whyte yesterday was, I think, 250, something like that. Povetkin was at 225, but then he came out and knocked the bigger guy out. Uh, the thing is, there's a lot of fighters, a large number of fighters between the cruiserweight and the heavyweights, the small heavyweights, the 205s, the 210s, that would either have to sacrifice to make weight in cruiserweight or have to give a huge advantage in weight and height to the big heavyweights. So the proposal is to analyze to see if heavyweight is moved to start at 220 or 225. That would be the heavyweight division, and then have a new division in between cruiser and heavyweight, uh, a new division for fighters in that range that can compete and stay active. We're looking at it. Tony Bello has been appointed as the ambassador to speak to the fighters. And we're going to speak to promoters, networks, fans, and then probably we'll implement a new weight category if that is decided.
And then just a few other fights as well that have been announced since we last spoke. So it sounds like Luke Campbell, Ryan Garcia has now got over the line. Sounds like that will be in the States over there and in November, we believe. Talked about that, the first person on Zoom. How was that?
Well, it was, we had actually two attempts. We had the first one where Matchroom and Golden Boy said they had a deal that they needed a week to put up all the contracts and sign them. So we gave them that time, and then they came back on the purse bid moment because they didn't submit the contracts, and they announced they had agreement, a deal. So it usually works like this. Many purse bids go to the line, but the experience of doing it by Zoom is very interesting and very transparent, very open. I like it very much.
Does it make it any easier?
One moment, please.
No problem.
Sí. I am very sorry.
That's okay. Did it make it any easier doing it on Zoom at all?
I don't know. It's something that we support to have flexibility. It's simpler. It's easier. It's cheaper for the promoters. They don't have to fly out and get hotels. But at the same time, when they meet face to face, it's a good, the interaction. It's constant in the boxing world, and that's one of the times when they meet. But it's certainly easier and completely open and transparent. That's what I like very much.
I just want to talk to you about a couple of comebacks. So first of all, a rumoured comeback for Oscar De La Hoya. It sounds like he wants to come back in the professional ranks rather than exhibitions. What are your thoughts on that?
I have a crossed feelings. The pandemic has brought all of us to have a great nostalgia. We all want to do what we used to do, and I think it has to do with the feelings that has brought to several fighters right now. The first and most important thing is the safety, the health of the fighters. There's a great difference between what Chavez and Arce are doing, three round exhibitions with headgear, 18-ounce gloves, going into a ring and giving fans entertainment, and then to have intentions to fight. But we saw Maravilla Martinez fought Friday at 45. So there's a tendency. We're looking at a tendency. Oscar De La Hoya is a great fighter, tremendous, great heart. He didn't really get damaged when he was in the ring. And I don't know what his intentions are, just to try to prove himself. I don't know if he wants to compete at a championship level. He deserves the opportunity to see what he wants to do. The law is very open. There are no limitations. If you pass the medical examinations and you get a license, then you can fight. So it's completely mixed feelings on thinkings of everything.
If he did compete at a competitive level when he got to, let's say, title level, would you sanction a title bout with the WBC for him at his age?
That's way too early to even consider. That would be presumptuous. That would be speculation. To be ranked, you have to compete and show your abilities. Of course, he has a direct good perception for what he did in the ring. But I think he's been out of the ring maybe 10 years. I'm not sure how many years exactly, but it's not the same. A few days ago, I played football with my son. I was a good goalkeeper when I was young. So I said, okay, let's do some penalty shots. I'm ready for the first one. He shoots. My mind says I'm going to fly like I used to fly. And I just felt like a bag of potatoes and I could not move for 2 days. So it's a different of what you think and what you want compared to what you can really do.
Absolutely. Your mind tells you one thing, your body that tells you another.
Yes.
The last thing I wanted to mention with you, Mauricio, was Jessica McCaskill. She won last week, wasn't it, Cecilia Brackhouse, and she received the WBC title. But it's not a female title, a women's belt. It's the same and equal belt to a male fighter's belt. Just talk to me about that going forward. The females will get the same title as the men's. Why was that going forward?
The WBC is the first organization that began sanctioning women's boxing, female boxing. And when we created the initial belt, it was smaller. It had a flower-like design to make it, it had the female wording and some pink in it. Then women started saying, well, it's beautiful, but I want the bigger belt like the man. So we did a bigger belt, the size, with the pink colors and female in the bottom. And this year, the movement for equality and the movement for fair opportunities began, and we have supported that. We have listened to our fighters, and we decided to take out the word woman or female from the belt. So the belt itself, it's exactly the same, has no distinction whatsoever. And the first one was given to Cecilia in the fight with McCaskill, and McCaskill is receiving the same belt as a man. It's going to be delivered this week. So this is something that we're just consistent. We have had 3 women's boxing conventions. We have had great efforts to improve their position in a world scale. And I'm very happy to see how they have performed. You saw Harper Jonas to a draw. You saw Breckus, McCaskill, sensational fight. And last night, it cannot get any better. So they're getting their much due respect and position in the boxing world.
Absolutely. It's certainly a big and a positive step by the WBC to go forward with the quality of the titles there as well, which I praise. Mauricio, thank you for your time today, speaking to pro boxing fans once again. We appreciate
it. Thank you so much, James.